So Bitcoin has been going nuts, and what's even more crazy is when you get me to talk about it. And you can read it here. Bitcoin price surges above 42,000 as rate cut bets fuel cross asset rally. Moreover, 42K was not enough. Now we're at 44,000, first time since April 2022. And there's speculation that the ETFs, not ATFs, ETFs might be approved. And moreover, I guess gold has been spiking as well. So for all of you who've been doing the gold and the whole Bitcoin thing, you've been having a great year. Congrats. And I was just looking at the chart, and you guys can see it for yourself. This last really month, it's just gone kind of vertical. So, can it keep going? What's going on? How far is this going to go? I'm sure you're going to hear people out there tell you it's going to hit 100K, that kind of stuff. I'll give you some honest opinions. Just and I don't get paid by Bitcoin. I don't affiliate with Bitcoin, any of that kind of stuff. But if I had to guess, I think I'm just looking at the chart here. I think 45 is going to be a key resistance level, and then after that, the all-time high is going to be 70s. I personally don't think we're going to see that again, right? I'm telling you, I personally don't think we're going to see it again. However, to be fair, I did not expect Bitcoin to rally the way that it did this year. Now, I have a couple theories about this, and I'm just sharing you guys my thoughts. Like, one, I can read a chart, so I never, pretend that Bitcoin's not going up. I can literally see it. So, like I said, for those of you who were buying in the 15, 16s or whatever, the lowest that it got, like I said, congrats. 45 is going to be a key level. There's been some fascinating articles about what's going on here. Like, for example, BlackRock's trying to do an ETF on this thing. And they had this really interesting thing. I'll read it. It says BlackRock received 100,000 seed funding for spot Bitcoin ETF. And then it says here, the unknown seed investor. So they kind of keep this stuff secret, I guess. And then that person agreed to hey, if you're going to do the ETF, I'll put a whole bunch of money into it. And there's a couple of the headlines I want to put together with this that I feel like sort of captures why crypto might be moving that way that it is. First is we had a really interesting sort of credit cut. This is Moody's. They said, hey, we don't think China is so great. They're cutting their future outlook to negative, right? And basically saying, hey, China's got too much debt. And moreover, the other two agencies are still keeping China's outlook at stable. So that's Standard & Poor's and Fitch. We'll keep an eye on that because the mood's been souring among these agencies regarding USA's credit rating. The China government has actually been deficit spending a little bit higher than normal. You can see the trend. You can see it's going up a bit. 4% is kind of their limit. They're saying it doesn't usually exceed 3, but they're getting closer to the 4. And to give you guys some sort of comparison to deficit spending, the USA is around 6.8 of GDP. So the reason why I mention this thing is it's if you're a Chinese person, you're thinking, do I want to be investing in Chinese companies and equities and these kind of things, or do I just want to go crypto? and my my opinion when I see this stuff where mood and saying China is souring, I just feel like maybe that's where a lot of the crypto kind of bull market's coming from, because moreover, you have the Evergrande situation, which is the real estate thing, and that is still not resolved. There was supposed to be some sort of restructuring deal. They keep delaying it. Every time I see a hard article on this, they'll say, oh, we'll decide something next week. And then that next week comes and they just delay it. So now we're delayed until January. Honestly, guys, who knows? I just told you, they always say they're going to make a decision in the future, and then they always delay it again. So, moreover, I've been seeing these articles where people are dumping, Chinese stuff. You can see here, worsening China earnings are giving bears more reasons to sell. I personally think it's a lot of Chinese people moving money into crypto. And the other one I think as well, I think there's a lot of terrorist money in this stuff, and I'm being serious. I track this stuff. I don't mention it every day, but I do watch these things. So I'll read the headline to you guys. It says, Israel orders freeze on crypto accounts in bid to block funding for Hamas. They were saying here it was 100 accounts on Binance. I guess, well, there's a couple things going on. So one is you need, I guess this was just a couple days ago. So Hamas needed a new way to get money from Iran, right? Turn to crypto. So first Iran's going to give money to Hamas, through crypto. And then the other thing too, which a lot of people don't talk about, but I'm pretty sure it's going on, is that we had all of these hostages releases recently, right? I am sure. And this kind of stuff that you can't really prove. A lot of this stuff is like with crypto accounts, these kind of things is essentially unknown this, unknown that, right? But I would bet, I think a pretty, a good bet to take, I guess a way to say it is that during hostage negotiations, you're paying the Hamas something to release hostages, and I'm sure there's crypto payments involved. So can I prove that? No, absolutely not. So I just want to say that I always want to state to you guys very clearly, like, this is what's fact, this is what my opinion, this kind of stuff. So I can certainly see that Israel's going after crypto accounts that Hamas has. I can see that there's been kind of rumors, and this is even being reported by Wall Street Journal that Iran, one way they can get money to Hamas is through crypto. No one really reports on the hostage stuff. That stuff has always been really sensitive topics, because like it was like the last month, you'll see, oh, so-and-so got released, and then so-and-so also got released, and they don't really give you a lot of details. And I'm just thinking to myself, there's got to be money passed along, and the reason why you don't give details, it's just sensitive, right? It's embarrassing, because you're for any government or any organization or any business or any prominent person, you always say we don't negotiate with terrorists, we don't negotiate with people holding other people hostage. You guys know this stuff, but behind the doors, there's something going on. You don't just release people for free. So I think there's crypto stuff going on with that. So I think China, I think the war, those kind of things. You could talk about the Russians. What are they doing? What's going on with Ukraine? So I think that kind of stuff is driving up crypto, and maybe the crypto bulls will have other explanations. I'm just giving you my explanation of one thing, and then moreover, I think people are concerned about what's going on with the U.S. situation. When I read these headlines, and it's funny because, and I'll read it here. Fed is done hiking, okay, but rates to stay high for a long time. This is coming from PNC, and you'll hear different estimations on Wall Street what they think is going to happen. So sometimes Wall Street tries to paint that if the Fed lowers interest rates, that suddenly everything's going to be rosy and we're off to the races again, another bull market. My opinion on this thing is I wouldn't necessarily take rate cuts as inherently good. The general rule here is the Fed is trying to figure out, okay, where can we be neutral to where we're not like juicing the markets and the economy to be essentially heading off into inflation land and free money, these kind of things. And also too, we don't necessarily want to have interest rates so high that it's restricting growth and making it hard for the economy to expand, et cetera. They want to be neutral. And one of the things that when people say, oh, it'll be so great when they start cutting again, not necessarily, because when you read these kind of headlines that this would just come out today, U.S. job openings dropped to lowest level in 2 years, right? If you don't have a job, so regardless of what government data is and where we are officially, are we in recession, are we in growth, regardless of what that stuff says, if you don't have a job and you can't pay your bills, right, you're in a tough spot. And when you see this kind of stuff that the job openings aren't there, or it was just recently, I think yesterday I saw that Spotify had fired 17% of their employees, right? Those kind of things, right? If that affects you directly, and you got laid off from Spotify and you can't find another place to work, obviously things aren't great for you. And so this is sort of why I always try to, when we talk about these things, talk about the macro and also your situation, right? So again, if the Fed is cutting, don't necessarily think it as a good thing. It could be more like the economy is broken and we need to try to kickstart it again, and they're in a bind. Inflation is tough to control. I know that, guys, because I see it for myself. I can see housing prices are still up, right? And the thing is like, are they actually going to ever come down? That's always been the question, because like, how long is that sustainable? Certainly, people are still doing, transactions, these kind of things. Like I can see it in the news and the headlines, but not at the crazy levels that we've seen in the past. So this is sort of why, and sometimes people ask, like talking about Bitcoin again here, what is the problem that Bitcoin solves? So one of the things that the argument for it is that, well, if every government's going to be printing fiat currency forever, if they need to stimulate the economy, so say the China situation, they're like, oh, we got to fix Evergrande, let's just print a whole bunch. Then that's essentially, well, I don't want to be in a currency that they just print at will, right? I want to be in something like a Bitcoin where they can't just print whatever they want. We've all made a promise to each other to where we won't make any more, et cetera, and it'll quote hold its value. I get that argument. So I'm just reiterating that. Now, I'm just not into this stuff personally. It's just not something I'm into, but I do talk about it, and I can also see numbers, right? So that's why I'm pointing out to you guys the chart. I'm well aware that it's had a great, fantastic year, and we do have some people in the community that got in under 20, so fantastic. But there's a lot of people that probably bought at 70, and they're also, obviously furiously writing comments to get other people to, buy their crypto, etc. Because that's why I mentioned the 45 level, because there's some people who are holding this thing for a long time and just want to break even and get out. And that's sort of where you get these resistance levels kind of thing. Whether it hits to 100, next year, that kind of stuff, I'm pretty doubtful on that. But to be fair, I was doubtful this year that it would make the recovery that it did. And I don't know how many people were predicting it was going to hit, 40 something by the end of the year. I'm pretty shocked myself. But, there was no way to predict the situation that we saw with Israel and Hamas, like the way that it played out just recently, or predict the Russia-Ukraine situation or the Israel-Hamas situation. Like, I don't know, like anyone out there who had all three of those things, like, hey, I totally knew that all those stuff was going to happen. It's been a crazy year, and next year, we'll see if this sort of trend continues. But given the choice, when people ask, do I want gold, Bitcoin, etc., my answer always is the same. I like the US dollar. So what can I say? I know I can use the dollar to, basically pay anything that I want. I can travel, etc. Whereas I can't really just like carry around a whole bunch of gold and use that to, go to the restaurant and pay the hotel. Maybe you can pay the hotel in gold. I don't know. I just think, dollar has the most transactional value, and is not necessarily going away anytime soon. That's my opinion on that. But I completely understand that there's these sort of Armageddon people out there that's like, forget that dollar. Give me your dollars and I'll give you Bitcoin and gold. So obviously they have a certain perspective on that. They're trying to get your dollars and selling you these other things. So that's my thoughts. Love to hear yours. Where do you think gold, the Bitcoin, and the dollar are going? And do you agree or disagree with sort of my interpretations of what's happening in the world and driving the price of Bitcoin? So thanks again, and I'll catch you next video.